The best boss fights make a good game even better. Now, it's a new year, so we're starting strong with one of our obsessions here at gameranx. You know, boss fights, man. These are the biggest, craziest, and most incredible bosses in video game history. We say if you don't fight these bosses before you die, you're missing out. We got 20 of them, so let's get started off with number 20. A good example where the biggest bosses aren't always like the hardest. God of War 3 took boss fights and really turned them into these incredible spectacles. And the first one, Kronos, might literally be the biggest boss on our list, technically. This guy is so huge that like Kratos is like a tiny little speck in comparison. Now, this fight begins with you fighting the dude's fingertip. In the world of God of War, these titans are the precursors of the gods, and they're also just really, really huge. They're the size of mountains, and Kronos is the biggest. He's actually got like a mountain on his back. And this battle, still to this day, is like a technical marvel. This game ran really well on an old PlayStation 3, and the remastered version makes the battle look even better. The God of War games have always been a technical showcase, yeah, but like this just really blew our tiny brains back in the day, and it still does.
Eyes! Damn mortal! You will suffer when my sight returns!
The way the camera pulls away to then show you the full scale of the opponent as the music swells is just brilliant. And it just gets us even more hyped. You know, we're not fighting some chump here. We're fighting the biggest chump of the gods. Kronos is a fight that's so insane, nothing else compares in the rest of the series in terms of that sheer size. You'll fight across his giant hand, battling swarms of enemies as you climb all over him. There's something hilarious about Kratos scrambling around the world's biggest dude and attacking his fingernails to deal damage. It's ridiculous and amazing at the same time, and that honestly is peak God of War. Next, over at number 19, Cuphead. It's a game that's like all about the bosses, obviously. They're like a handful of the regular levels, but the majority of the time, you're spent just doing boss fights and dying over and over again. A lot of the bosses in Cuphead could qualify for a best bosses ever list, honestly, but we're gonna try and stick with just one, a more recent one, the final boss of the Cuphead DLC. Chef Saltbaker, which doesn't sound that impressive. He's a chef with one of those like silly chef hats. How impressive could he be? If you're one of the few that actually managed to fight this chef, you're in for a treat, man. He's like a beast of a boss with 3 increasingly wild and thrilling phrases. Like what starts out as a pretty standard boss fight in Chef Saltbaker's bakery then becomes something else entirely. You know, probably like the art in Cuphead is always really insane. The smooth, bouncy 1920s era animation style is what really made people notice this game, but Saltbaker, as the grand finale, really goes all out. The single boss took months apparently to animate, and you'll see why. The first 2 phases are full of these painstakingly drawn special attacks from a very, very big game sprite. Then things become unbelievable when you break Saltbaker's glass exterior here. After shattering this salt shaker, the boss appears as like an infinite field of salt, and you'll need to avoid these attacks and entire screens of swirling, beautiful animation just to survive. Don't get distracted. We're making this boss look too easy. Only because it took like dozens and dozens of tries to get this footage and learn all the tricks. Saltbaker really is the magnum opus of Cuphead. If you love bosses, you need to experience this. Next, over at number 18, one of my personal favorites, man. Psycho Mantis. He's the gold standard for Metal Gear Solid bosses, and really bosses in general. This is just a boss that made us all sit up and see the potential, the possibility of bosses in video games. I mean, Psycho Mantis breaks all the rules. He isn't the hardest boss on our list, but he's absolutely one worth experiencing without spoilers. But unfortunately, we're gonna have to spoil everything about him. And honestly, the entire gaming world, if you've ever gone online or read a magazine, has spoiled the hell out of this. So let's go. Psycho Mantis has these psychic powers, right? He starts the battle off immediately by possessing your partner Meryl, forcing you to non-lethally knock her out before she kills herself or you.
You are powerful indeed, but I know your weak point. Meryl, stand right where he can see you and blow your brains out. Ah!
Stop! Meryl!
And then that's when all the weird tricks begin. So Psycho Mantis knows what you're gonna do before you do it. He will dodge gunshots and grenades automatically. He'll also glitch out your game, losing signal and kind of showing a fake black screen like your cable was disconnected. The fourth wall breaking moments of this boss fight are really the things that are burned into our mind though. So Psycho Mantis will know that you like Castlevania, and he'll say it because of the Symphony of the Night save file on your PS1 memory card. He can even use his psychic powers to activate the rumble on your controller. All these interactions seem like silly gimmicks, but they were really creative at the time. So to defeat Psycho Mantis's mind-reading abilities, you'll have to clear your mind. Basically, you need to switch controller ports. Because video game systems don't have physical controller ports anymore, the latest release of Metal Gear Solid 1 makes you open the controller settings and switch your controller to player 2. Either way though, like just switching your controller from the player 1 to player 2 totally trips up Psycho Mantis, and he's like, oh no, I can't read your mind anymore, and then you kill him. It's awesome. Next, over at number 17, the Resident Evil 4 remake did the impossible. It took one of the best games ever and actually improved it. Already one of our favorite boss fights ever, the Krauser boss in Resident Evil 4 Remake is even cooler, putting you in full control now, replacing what was mostly like a cutscene QTE encounter with the knife-wielding Krauser, and letting you actually perform every swing and parry and all that stuff is really a stroke of genius here, and you'll only understand it if you've played the original like religiously and then jumping into the new one. It's nice. The first fight isn't actually what we're talking about here. When Krauser takes off his shirt and, you know, slathers himself in war paint near the end of the game, you know it's truly on.
This is it, soldier! Losing your cool. Racist mistakes. I'm not falling for your mind. Sure you don't need a breather? That arm of yours must be killing you.
In the ruins of the base of the evil Los Illuminados cult, Krauser ambushes the player and fights in a way we haven't seen before. Krauser isn't a monster. He's a human with military training and enhanced abilities. He whips out a submachine gun early, forcing you to take cover as he bombards the area and bullets and then tosses grenades. He'll sprint towards you for the kill with the knife, performing deadly combo attacks you'll need to perfectly parry to get a hit in. After navigating a series of traps, including multiple like weird bomb drones that only appear in this one section of the game, you then have to fight Krauser on the ruined roof with a very tight time limit. And that's when all your skills are really put to the test. Guns are more useless in this part of the fight. He injects himself with one of the many viruses that are floating around the Resident Evil universe. I don't know, he gets a big pair of monster arms and makes him pretty much immune to a lot of bullets. Now in the original game, the knife was an overpowered tool you could use to easily defeat Krauser's final form. In the remake, it's really the only weapon that's the most effective. You gotta be good with timings, you gotta pay attention, but you gotta master the whole fight to really win and truly beat Krauser's ass. Like I said, the original version is incredible, the way it was paced, you know, all the different areas to it, but they really blew that all out of the water here with the remake. Next, over number 16, the secret boss in Katana Zero is one you won't see on a lot of lists, but it's one of our favorites. We've definitely mentioned it before. This is a high-speed action platformer where your psychic samurai can technically see the future. Putting him in impossible situations you'll need to overcome through trial and error. It's kind of like a 2D side-scrolling Hotline Miami. It's awesome. And the psychiatrist boss is the ultimate test of your skills and isn't even required to fight. You'll only see him if you piss off your handler so much he then suddenly injects himself with this super psychoactive drugs that then change your perception completely. . So in the first phase, the psychiatrist unleashes a wave of these bizarre attacks. He summons giant hands to grab you. He copies himself. He throws energy balls that you need to bounce back. It's all like an appetizer for the real craziness. After fighting through multiple waves, his flesh expands into like an ocean of meat and teeth. It's gross. The whole world changes around you into a nightmare world filled with syringes and bubbling goo. You'll need to survive gauntlets of attacks to land even a single hit on this crazy guy. And the blaring music really puts you in the mood to fight things that shouldn't exist. It's a lot. This is one of the strangest and most exhilarating bosses we've fought. And thanks to some generous checkpoints, he's not always as difficult as he looks. Now, next over at number 15, Hyperion is anything but generous in Returnal. You know, of course, if you haven't played Returnal, it is one of the most visually stunning roguelikes ever. This bizarre creature plays an alien organ and throws bullet hell levels of projectiles at the player, launching tracking energy balls and shockwaves that you'll need to dodge, all while, you know, listening to a pretty awesome boss theme that's tailored completely to the tempo of the fight itself. It's awesome. The atmosphere of this boss fight is just as memorable as the gameplay, with the weirdo monster returning to its organ to launch even more attacks from the pipes, covering the screen in this like kaleidoscope of color. You'll feel amazing and cool dodging all these attacks, making this one of the best feeling bosses in the game, even if it isn't the hardest. Still, this is a roguelike. If you lose to Hyperion, you're starting all the way back at the beginning. Returnal, at launch, required epic length runs to progress with not a lot of save systems in sight, so you better believe our palms were sweating during this one. Now over at number 14, Mr. Freeze from Batman Arkham City. We've talked about this one a lot. A lot of you guys probably know about it, but we had to mention it because if we didn't, you would all be mad. But it really is an incredible boss fight. What makes Mr. Freeze so special here? He adapts. So if you attack from the vents, he'll destroy every vent you see. If you strike down from the gargoyles, he'll destroy all them with his ice gun. Freeze learns your tricks because he's smart, so you need to adapt accordingly. You need to use all of your Batman tricks. There are so many different takedown methods in Arkham City, it is pretty easy to forget lots of them and panic in the moment.
I make a wish, Batman. I will find you and... No!
If you've been sneaking up behind goons and ignoring all the other creative ways to get the jump on them, this fight can be tricky, but if you're a stealth master, you'll put down Mr. Freeze in no time. But still, what makes it so special and memorable for people is how it changes the paradigm of a boss fight. Not every boss fight has to be like an all-out fist fight. This is a back and forth kind of problem-solving thing that makes you feel like Batman because you're thinking about your tool set and every single way you can try and take him down.
I see you. What? No!
Now over at number 13, obviously From Software, the people behind Dark Souls and Elden Ring, are like the undisputed masters of boss fights. We could do a list of the best boss fights of all time and fill it with their games only. I think we've done that before actually, but today we're going to try and limit ourselves to the best of the best, and it doesn't even have to be the hardest. Even if Ludwig the Holy Blade is a very difficult boss. So the first boss of the Bloodborne DLC here is a twisted mutant man with like a horse face that screams and stumbles around like this sick animal. The barely coherent creature changes halfway through the fight, and the music changes too. Now, in his second phase, Ludwig the Accursed transforms completely. He then wields the infamous Moonlight Greatsword, the recurring From Software weapon, and he's pretty awesome with it. He stands up tall like a person and speaks with his original voice, regaining, I guess, a splinter of his humanity for a brief moment. The music changes from discordant noise to a melodic, incredible orchestrated piece. We don't know a lot about this guy, but his boss fight gives us, the full breadth of his experience. Now a twisted shadow of his former self, he finds himself again while fighting you and takes an epic boss fight and makes it even better. This is one of our favorite bosses from the entire Souls series, but it isn't the last From Software boss on our list. Next, over at number 12, one of the most surprising boss fights in video game history comes from one of the most seemingly unassuming games. We've talked about Undertale more than anyone should, but we'll never forget the Flowey boss fight for how it completely changed our perception of a boss fight. And just look at this thing. Flowey looks nothing like anything else in the game. The cute, simplistic pixel art of Undertale, the style here, is really replaced by this deranged mess of photo manipulation and grotesque art. And there's a good reason for that. An artist, Everdread, was hired to give this boss its unreal Photoshop look, and it sticks with you. Flowey is the final boss of a standard peaceful run of Undertale. It's also so overwhelming, the fight seems totally impossible to win. This boss is like an all-powerful godlike entity, so no matter what you do, you'll only be able to win by like the skin of your teeth, and that's by design. This is a boss that's designed to feel difficult without actually being difficult. Technically, you can lose the fight against Flowey, but the game plays tricks on you. The closer you are to death, the less damage Flowey will do, essentially giving you many, many more chances at life when it seems like you're desperate and you're like about to bite the big one. Flowey's an impressive technical achievement, an awesome, iconic visual, and just a plain fun boss that turns the screws and scares you while keeping training wheels on at the same time. It's clever. It's a style of boss design we've seen in more games since Undertale first debuted, and it's a brilliant bit of developer trickery that's worth copying for any cinematic boss battle, really. Now, next over at number 11, Metal Gear Rising is like the pinnacle achievement when it comes to cool boss fights. The pumping music, the blazing fast action here makes every boss a weird, special, awesome encounter. We had a hard time choosing just one, but today we've settled on Raiden's rival, Jetstream Sam. Set in its own unique chapter here, Jetstream Sam is the swordsman that defeats Raiden at the start of the game, and much later in the game you get a chance to kick his ass, or get vengeance, or, revengeance, you know. So Jetstream Sam unleashes this lightning fast blade attacks. He'll sheath his sword and pull the trigger on the hilt, swinging his sword with the speed of a bullet, man. He has a wide range of attacks, and he's very difficult to parry, which is what you've been doing to fight enemies for the entire game. By perfectly parrying his sword strikes, you'll be able to knock Sam's weapon out of his hands, and the cool guy will just keep fighting with his bare hands then. Jetstream Sam is just a cinematic fight that's worth celebrating in a game that's full of best boss fight material, really.
Now this
Next over at number 10, Raphael. The devil on your shoulder here is an optional boss in Baldur's Gate 3, and one of the best bosses we fought in any CRPG. This pompous little hellspawn taunts you from the beginning of the game to the end, offering you an easy solution to your pesky brainworm problem. He's offering salvation, and we should know better than to, sign a deal with a demon. After fighting him, we're seriously considering just giving up our souls. It would be a lot easier than fighting a monster with 666 health. The fourth wall-breaking boss here even has his own unique song. He belts out his lyrics with dripping disdain for the silly mortals that are trying to defeat him here.
Hell, hell, wars, hell, hell. Effect in the cause, curtain falls, but hold your applause. Squirm, squirm, for now down here come the claw.
He sings his own boss theme like he's in a musical, which is actually a perfect fit for a villain that might just be a bard. If you look carefully, you can see that he's wearing a set of boots of brilliance, which restore bardic inspiration. And his song is very intimidating when you're struggling to keep your head above water against a horde of some of the toughest enemies from hell, all attacking you at once. He's throwing it all at you. This is an epic fight that's fitting as one of our absolute favorite villains from any RPG.
No more deals, it's over. The final act, you're doomed. No more grace, it's over. This house of hope. Consumed.
Now, next over at number 9, the Yakuza series is another boss fight staple here. There are almost endless cinematic bosses to choose from, and the most recent, Infinite Wealth, is packed with the most ridiculous fights yet. You'll battle immortal old men with machine guns and wizard squids on a nuclear island, but that isn't silly enough for this. If you're looking for the goofiest fight in the series, we're taking on the Robo Michio Rangers. Found at the bottom of the Hawaii Haunt optional dungeon, these are a squad of Power Rangers that have gone haywire and want you dead. It isn't enough that you have to fight one, you'll need to fight 5 at the same time. And it's even better if you understand the backstory. So Ono is the ugly mascot that first appeared in Yakuza 6, and he just keeps coming back. Infinite Wealth takes his reappearance to the extreme. Someone has made an evil robotic Ono Michio, and they made a bunch more. This is one of the toughest fights in the game, and one of the most fun if you're looking to overcome every challenge in the game, and there are a lot. And we always love a good Power Rangers ripoff boss. We can make a list on that subject alone.
Go.
See, I guess.
Now over at number 8, another personal favorite of mine. If there's one Metal Gear Solid boss you need to fight before you die, it's the end from Metal Gear Solid 3. In the tradition of amazing Metal Gear bosses, the end might be the pinnacle purely for the mechanics of this boss. This fight can technically last for hours. It's set in a huge map covering multiple locations, and the end here is a stealthy sniper in camouflage that'll headshot you if you stick your head out or if you're not careful. So stealth is key here as you slowly inch through these jungle maps and search for your target. You'll need every gadget to detect the end. He's stationary, so the motion detector won't usually help you. This fight changes every time you attempt it. You can move carefully, watching for the glint of his sniper scope to find the end's location, or you can Lissic with the sonic device to hear his breathing. If shooting him is too slow, try leaving behind poisonous food. Or you can simply wait a week of in-game time and let him die of old age. Yes, you can really do that. You can also kill him earlier in the game if you're very careful and very fast, but that's a whole other video. Next over at number 7, Shadow of the Colossus had to go on this list somewhere, man, and we had to pick one of the most exhilarating encounters in the game. The fight against Phalanx takes you off the ground and into the skies as you hold on for dear life. You're in this vast desert, and the Phalanx is the largest Colossus in the game. And it's actually one of the most passive. It doesn't even really attack you. It's just kind of swirling dragon-like through the sky. By shooting the big bladders with arrows, this thing will lower itself enough that you can then jump off your horse and grab onto one of the wings and get whisked away into this fight. From this point, you're stuck up in the sky with him. Yeah, gotta be careful. He twists around through the air at really intense speeds, and it's a spectacle of a battle. While the PS2 original is an incredible achievement, the PS4 remake is worth experiencing for boss fights like this for sure. Next over at number 6, one of the most epic boss fights of all time. It feels strange even including Safer Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII on this list. Compared to boss fights from today, he doesn't look that impressive. He's a low-poly PS1 character model in a world where we have photorealistic graphics now, but we can't overstate the impact of Safer Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII. The One-Winged Angel boss music and the incredibly over-the-top magic spell that feels like a precursor to the amazing boss fights from Final Fantasy XVI. There's so much going on here. For a long time in our childhood, Safer Sephiroth was the boss fight to end all boss fights, and the top tier of every epic moment list. This boss has a summon attack called Supernova that lasts over 2 minutes, just to show a comet destroying the entire galaxy. Of course it can't be skipped, and we wouldn't want to. Safer Sephiroth is the peak of the mountain Square Enix has to climb in Final Fantasy VII Remake Chapter 3. Whatever they do for this, I'm already getting chills. It's gotta be amazing. It's gonna be very over the top. We can't wait to see what they do for remaking one of the most iconic JRPG bosses of all time. Now, number 5, we're taking a big turn before the end of the video because we had to include the final boss of Asura's Wrath somewhere. If you've never heard of this game, you're welcome. It's one of the weirdest games in Capcom's library. It's kind of like a series of cutscenes and combat scenarios and like boss fights designed as a game. It also sold the ending as DLC, sorta, so if you didn't pay the ending tax, you might have never seen arguably one of the wildest bosses we've seen. This final fight against the creator, a being known as Chakravartin, starts with you dodging entire planets, and then it only gets crazier from there. So in his final form, he plays with your perception and tries to trick you by subverting the mechanics of the game. He does something we've never seen in any other video game. He actually takes control over your QTEs, or QuickTime events. In the second phase of his final form, the creator will periodically replace your QTE inputs with his symbol. If you follow the on-screen instructions, you'll be helping him instead of your character. This guy is godlike, so I mean, why wouldn't he be able to change things like that in the game? It's just clever, weird, and fun, like Asura's Wrath in general. Now down at number 4, Super Metroid introduced an entire generation of players to the cinematic boss fight. A fight that felt impossible, a fight that made us feel overwhelmed in every way, but is actually designed to be beaten. And the fight against Mother Brain is one of the most iconic boss fights in video game history, man. After hours of exploring this like creepy abandoned alien planet, Samus fights the evil Mother Brain in her lair. The initial nostalgic fight, designed to mirror her original battle from the old school one on NES, actually quickly becomes something very different as the Mother Brain mutates into a walking, rampaging monster. After a long fight, the Mother Brain charges a beam that then drains Samus's health and leaves the player like desperately on the brink of death. And as the boss charges one final blast, the little Metroid you've met earlier jumps in and drains Mother Brain's essence, giving it to Samus and charging you up with an incredibly powerful beam. It's a dramatic, cinematic moment in a game that's almost completely free of scripted story sequences. It just took us by surprise and really stuck with us, making this one of those boss fights you just gotta experience. Now down at number 3, Ocarina of Time is another video game that just like hits differently. This game itself was a huge step forward for the Legend of Zelda series, making the 3D games feel more tactile and viable in general. They didn't have to be slow and methodical. You could have like a thrilling sword fight and an adventure in 3D. That was a big deal back in the day when this game originally released. And the biggest moment of it all, the showstopper, really, the future, was the fight against Ganondorf. At the end of the game, in the ruins of the castle, you'll battle the fully transformed Ganondorf. Instead of like the silly pig guy he was in previous games or whatever, he is a massive dark figure in the burning ruins here. His glowing eyes and giant double axes just really scared the hell out of us as kids. Wasn't like a little kid version of Ganon. This is the scary Ganon, and the fight itself blew our minds. You have to remember that the sword fighting system in Ocarina of Time was groundbreaking. In the same way Mario 64 made 3D platforming feel really fun, and like you could see the future of it, Ocarina of Time proved sword fighting and combat and action could be done in 3 dimensions, and Ganon was the ultimate test of those skills. It's really fun to go back and just like think about how much has changed since this fight, but it's still one of those fights you need to experience before you die. Now coming down at number 2, of course, Millennia is the end boss of video game bosses. The Blade of Miquella might be overhyped at this point, so let's all just say this. Is Millennia the hardest video game boss? No, but there are harder bosses in Elden Ring due to the Shadow of Erdtree DLC and stuff. But without a doubt, From Software is going to hurt us with even crueler bosses in the future. But very few bosses feel as overwhelming and as impossible as this one. There are so many epic From Software bosses. Ishin, the Sword Saint, the Orphan of Kos are 2 easy contenders for the most difficult, but neither of them poison you with the deadliest poison in the game or hit you with combos that are seemingly impossible to dodge. Millennia is thankfully a totally optional boss, but she's so challenging there are players that are now famous just for fighting her. Beating this boss, it was like a new rite of passage in video games, a test to see if you've got what it takes, and we don't blame anyone here for giving up. Sometimes it just isn't worth it, but it's incredibly awesome and a hell of a good time, or at least a hell of a good time if you're a sicko. Now down at number 1, Sifu. It's a kung fu action roguelike game of our dreams with infinite combat depth as you learn the ins and outs of perfect parrying, dodging, blocking, and everything else that makes this action game so difficult and fun in like the best ways. Mastering a boss and learning to counter their every move to deal critical core damage and beat them without killing them is a big deal. It makes us feel great, but there's one boss we might never master. Yang, the leader, is the final boss of Sifu and one of the most difficult bosses in games. He's the last challenge in your roguelike run, and he'll test your skill in a way, we don't really see in video games. He's better at kung fu than you, so tricks like using your focus attacks just won't work. Look, to be honest, when we couldn't win a fight, we'd use our trusty leg sweep attack. That would often work, but Yang dodges it instantly here. He dodges everything you do, and if you attack while he blocks, he'll auto-counter. The only way to hit back is to spam dodge, hope he doesn't attack low, and counter for the brief moment he leaves himself open. Even at the highest level, this fight can go either way for top tier players. He's like the modern Mike Tyson from Punch-Out!, a boss that's so difficult, most people are probably never gonna beat him. I'm not totally sure how some of us beat him here, but it was a wild ride, and everyone needs to try it, or at least experience it in some way, at least once. All of these are video game magic. That's 20 boss fights we think you need to experience. And there are so many more that we couldn't fit on this list. So if you have a favorite boss fight, let us know in the comments. We would love to talk about more of these guys. If you like talking video games with us, clicking the like button's all you gotta do. It really helps us out. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.